Hi everyone, Cindy Funes with Garden Revelry here. It is winter, and winter is a great time to clean our tools when you're container gardening. It's a slow time of year for us as container gardeners, and so I thought today I would show you how to clean and sharpen your tools. So I have several here that we use for container gardening, and one of them being the Hori Hori pruning saw. I've got some shears. My favorites, the Stihl, those are mine. And then I have the Crews, and they're a little beat up, so we'll see how we handle those. The Snips, and then your trusty trowel. So I'm going to show you how to clean them up, then remove the rust, if there's any rust, because rust is the enemy. And then I'm going to sharpen them, and we'll oil the mechanisms together. So let's get started. Okay, so I thought I'm going to start off with my Stihl pruners. The first step to tool cleaning is just, with a brush, just brushing off any debris, loosening it up, getting some chunks out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some soapy water here. So this is my soap. And then I'm just going to dunk these in some water. And then I'm going to go through that same process of just cleaning them off, cleaning off any remaining debris. There aren't any chunks here because I got it off with the brush when they were dry. And then I'm going to move to step 2, which is now I'm going to dunk into a water vinegar solution, 3 parts to 1, so 3 parts water, 1 part vinegar. And what this is going to do is help loosen up, help maybe remove some of the rust. Now, there's not a lot of rust on my Stihl pruners because I try as best as possible to clean them and take care of them after using them, because they're my favorite tool, or one of my favorite tools. But then I go through this again, but this time I'm going to use a stiff brush, and I'm going to get in all these nooks and crannies. And actually, I'm not gonna take that off, I guess, because I don't want to mix with that spring. Okay. And then I'm just gonna rinse them. So again, these are pretty well taken care of, but if there was some residue or a little bit more muck on them, I actually could take an SOS pad or a Stihl pad and just lightly give them, more of an intense rub down, kind of buffing up the metal. Actually, that's helpful beyond just using the brush. Okay, so the next step after drying is now I'm going to sharpen. I use a Whetstone for sharpening my tools, and so I soak it in water first. There's 2 sides to a Whetstone. There's a rougher side and a fine side. I'm going to start with the rougher side, and I'm going to sharpen this. I'm going to put this at a 20-degree angle, and I'm going to move left to right kind of in a sweeping motion on the beveled edge to sharpen this edge. And then I will flip it over, and there might be some burrs from the sharpening. Burrs are basically just a little bump that occurs when you're sharpening sometimes. And I'm going to use the fine edge of this to kind of rub those out. But you really are only sharpening one side on the shears, even though you've got 2 blades, and it's the one with the beveled edge. So the finishing touch, I mean, look at already, they're glistening. But the finishing touch is to add some fine oil to the mechanism. So you could use WD-40. Felco has a product that's it's N80 spray. I actually like to use this fine oil that I got at the Northwest Flower and Garden Show. I couldn't even tell you I got it from a tool vendor, but I love it. So all we do here is we're just going to put some oil in the mechanisms, and then we kind of move them around so that the oil moves through the mechanisms, and that's going to help prevent rust, and it's going to allow for easier movement with your tool in the spring. I would then, of course, repeat the process for snips, for other pairs of shears. In The difference being in this case, when you have a really neglected pair of shears or snips, I would take these apart. So I would take these apart so that I could get in between all those nooks and crannies and remove some of the rust that's accumulated. Also, another thing to note is when we're on site as professional container designers, we want to make sure that we're not spreading fungus or insects from planter to planter when we're working. So we do carry sanitizing wipes in our tool bucket, and we wipe down our tools in between moving from planter to planter if we've seen some evidence of fungus or insects, and that's to sterilize those pruners. And then we wipe them down and make sure they're dry, because bleach is damaging to plants, but I don't have too many concerns about that if we're wiping down our shears and they're dry, and then we're moving to the next plant. But I did want to note that. Thank you for being here. I hope this inspired you to grab your tools and clean and sharpen them and get them ready for the next planting season. If you have any tried and true tips on how to keep your tools tip-top shape, put them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. And if you're interested in more tips and tricks, join our newsletter. The link's in the bio.